Topping Talks. 105 hours a week can't be beat. Welcome to Topping Talks. Topping Talks is a Topping Tribune production, and today's episode is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies and ExpressVPN. Topping Talks is also on Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all of your favorite platforms. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com or go to the website toppingtechnologies.com to learn more. Also, are you part of the 3.6% of Americans who still care about your privacy? If you're than perfect, ExpressVPN can assist. Even though 96% of stats are made on the spot, ExpressVPN does give 100% guarantee via the 30-day back money guarantee. Now, without further ado, today I'm proud to say I'm interviewing John Danforth, who is a local musician. Thanks so much for coming on the show, man.
Thanks so much for having me. Great to be here.
Absolutely. So winding back the clock a couple years, how did you first get into becoming a musician, and what's that journey been like?
Sure. So I started playing when I was very young. I really grew up in a musical family. So my mom played clarinet in the church orchestra. My dad sang in the church choir. I got my start singing as a little kid in the kids choir. So I did that. And then as I got older, my mom tried to get me to take piano lessons. Shortly after that began, I rebelled against that and said I want to learn the guitar.
Oh, yeah.
so yeah, I said, you can have the piano, I'll take the guitar, I'll take the rock and roll. And so that's where it began, started learning on the acoustic, and, almost immediately, got into songwriting, which is what I'm really passionate about.
Oh, really?
What I really love is writing songs.
Do you remember the first song you learned on the guitar? And then, that's pretty quick learning in terms of, writing songs right off the bat.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. The first songs probably, I played... When I got started, I played a lot at my youth group and college group and around church. So it was probably a worship song or a hymn of some sort. So that's probably, what it was. But, from there, played in bands. I grew up in Central Arkansas, so I played in bands there. We played around the state. And then about 12 years ago, I moved to Dallas. And at that point, I was trying to start bands with other folks, and there were a few things that kind of got going and then fizzled. We never really got to the point where we were playing out and recording albums or anything. And so at that point I was just like, you know what, it would be a lot easier if it was just me doing it, like, not having to try to wrangle a band together and coordinate everybody's schedule. And so I was like, at this life stage, maybe I'll just give it a whirl, solo. And that was a first for me. And so to start with, I, reached out to my buddy who has some recording equipment. His name's Aaron. And we recorded my first EP called This Could Change. And, we recorded that, I think it was like in his daughter's, bedroom.
Really?
She wasn't there. It was just very kind of threw it together. It was very raw.
And what's an EP for the folks not in the industry? Because I think episode.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's for extended play. It's essentially just like a shorter piece of music. So you got your full-length album, an LP, and then EP is the 3 or 4 songs or 5 songs or something like that. So,
cool.
So yeah, the first one was, I think there were 5 songs on it, and it was rough and it was raw, but there was enough there that I was like, you know what? I like how this sounds, and I think there's potential here, and so I'm just going to keep going. And so from there...
How did you publish it, and how did it go about in terms of, did you write the music first, or did you compose the lyrics first? And do you remember, what was your favorite song from that? What was your favorite song on the LP?
That's a tough question.
Or EP, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a tough question, but I think for me, it's probably going to be a song called Stars that I wrote. And so that was the first song on the EP. It was kind of a fun, upbeat song. And so that was a lot of fun doing that. And then, after I released that, I started playing around Dallas a little bit. And since I did that, every year I've put out a record since then. So at this point, I've released 4 EPs and 2 full-length albums. This year, I said I'm not going to record. I'm just going to focus on playing live and really focusing on songwriting. And so that's what I've been doing, just playing kind of regionally. And that's been a lot of fun to do that.
And on that note, what's the easiest way to find your music, and where do you prefer they tune in terms of where they tune in?
Sure. So I've got a website, johndanforth.com. You can find all information about my music, about shows I'm playing, and just kind of in general, what I'm up to. So I've got johndanforth.com. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Threads, just everywhere as far as that goes. So folks can find me under John Danforth on any of those channels.
Perfect. We'll also put them in the product description. So no matter where you're tuning in on this, just click the description below or wherever, and you'll be able to find his music as well.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. And
of course.
And also, if you want to find the music, it's on all the streaming platforms. So Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, all those as well. You can find the albums there.
Out of curiosity, what methodology did you choose for the publishing? Because I know that for my show, I use RSS.com, which is kind of like those publishers will it'll automatically go to like the Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Which one did you choose, and what was the learning curve like in terms of using those technologies?
Yeah. So I went with CD Baby to distribute my music out there. That's who I first went with. I've been happy with their work. I mean, it pushes out to every music channel that I'd be interested in getting out on.
Perfect.
They also allegedly, they say that they pitched your songs for, sync placements. So essentially getting on like ads and TV shows and stuff like that. So they say that they do that. I don't know how much they do. So,
yeah.
but if they are doing that, then that's awesome. And,
Out of curiosity, maybe a controversial question. Is that something you would really like? So I remember growing up, like one of the most loved and then hated bands was Nickelback.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons they were such a commercial success is because it was it's the type of music that a lot of people appealed to. They really liked it. It's like it was in all the commercials for a long time, but kind of the enthusiasts that kind of turned them against a little bit. So what are your thoughts on is like would that be a blessing or a curse for you? What are your thoughts on that?
I'd take it. I would not say no to that. You can, if people want to say something about selling out, I'm fine with that if they pay me well.
Right.
So I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think it would be really fun to get your songs on like, commercials. I'd be open to it. And I think some of my songs may have been featured in like smaller like productions, but based off some of the information that CD Baby has sent me, I don't know what specific commercials they were,
really?
but nothing big. But yeah, I think having it on a TV show or a movie would be awesome. I think that would be a lot of fun. So I'd be very open to that. If anybody wants to do that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So.
And then is there a certain nostalgia? Like, would you really like? To me, there's some type of allure about like seeing music on a physical medium. Is that something you would want to push for someday, or what's your thoughts on? Like, guys, I know CDs are going down in terms of. I know Best Buy, like famously or controversially, a couple months ago, they got rid of all physical media.
Yeah.
But I know it is interesting that records are making a comeback, partially because the quality is better than CDs and digital. Is that something you would love to do, like a pressing someday, or what are your thoughts around those types of things?
Yeah. So I guess. Growing up, I loved CDs, and so I had like, a million, in my room just stacked up, and I always liked that because you could go through and read the lyrics and have the physical product. So I do appreciate that.
And the artwork is beautiful too. Like, do you still have your first CD, or do you remember that, or?
Like the first one that I bought?
Yeah.
I probably do, but it's at my parents' house in Arkansas. So, so I think, that's where that is. But yeah, I love the idea of having that. That said, I don't actually listen to records that much. Like I appreciate them. I think they're cool, but I just don't want to spend that much money on records. I do listen to a lot of music on streaming platforms. So there's a lot of negative things you could say about Spotify and streaming platforms, and I understand that. That said, it is fun to be able to find all your music there and be able to put together playlists and download it to your phone or whatever, so you can listen to it. So pros and cons there. Might be more cons, I don't know, but I've appreciated it, and we'll see. Someday maybe we'll get a record press. That'd be a lot of fun. So
absolutely,
we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something cool about like seeing it like on a shelf or seeing the real thing. Because I mean, again, when it comes to streaming, it's darn near impossible to. You really can't beat the convenience of it. You can have basically unlimited music on your phones these days if you take streaming into account. But like records, let's be honest, they're pretty bulky and cumbersome. It's like you can get a cheap setup, but if you really get into it, all of a sudden it gets it's a pretty penny to build that out.
And as far as like for my own music consumption, like I'll buy like old records at a record store that are used that are like cheaper, but I'm not going to spend $30 on a record. Sorry, I'm just not going to do that.
And they get up in value. I mean, they get up in price too, especially when you get like the older collectible ones. It's a whole industry in and of itself.
Yeah, but like the new albums that are coming out, it's like, if I wanted to buy a new record, it'd be $30-$40 maybe. And so it's just like, I'm just not going to do that, or 20. Yeah. So depending on who it is, right? And where you're shopping, but I'm not interested really. So.
And then what was it like in terms of like merchandising and like putting that together in terms of logistics? I remember a couple of my friends who started bands growing up, like a lot of them had a lot of difficulties sourcing materials like t-shirts or stickers, and a lot of them would have the issues of like the building inventory sometimes doesn't move, and they have to try to get the predictive cost. What's it like in that regard?
It's a great idea to have merch as a band and as like, you know, being an artist. I don't currently have like merch lined up. I'm not going to lie to you. It's something that I want to do, but I was, you know, putting together designs for t-shirts and stuff, but you know, we just didn't take the next step. And I tried to use one company and I had a bad experience. And so that kind of, you know, I need to get back into it, and I will eventually. So yeah, good reminder.
Of course. Well, I mean, it's pros and cons, especially I know like a lot of controversial things with the music industry is like, there's basically 3 large businesses that own the music rights to like a majority of all the artists out there. So a lot of them will try to offset, but they make lesser profits off the music than they actually make more money off a T-shirt. In their
Exactly.
cases, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
So that's why to them it's paramount to have all this sorts of merchandise, all the knickknacks, and all the fun stickers and the pins and all those kinds of things, because they actually make more money off of that than the actual music, which to me is so bizarre. But it also makes sense. I mean, Sony paid $750 million for half of Michael Jackson's catalog.
Yeah.
They're going to make that money back somehow.
And it's funny because no musician signed up to be a social media manager and a t-shirt slinger. Like, like nobody, but that's like, you know, if you want to do that, you know, at some level, you kind of got to get into that.
Oh, exactly.
So yeah, that's just kind of a part of the game, I suppose, at this point, if you want to play.
I mean, it's pros and cons because there's a lot more effort. Because I remember like my friends like back in the day, they were starting bands, but Facebook was just coming out, so there really wasn't a lot of market saturation in terms of the adoption rate for Facebook. So you can advertise on there, but it didn't really make much of an impact on your business or your band because not a lot of people are on it. Now it's hard to find people who aren't on at least one type of social media. So what's that like promoting the music on there? And personally, do you see different success rates on different platforms? And does that depend even just on the subject of the album or the song? What's that whole experience like?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on it. I would say for me personally, I've probably seen the most success on, you know, just as far as channels, Instagram.
Oh, really?
I've seen a lot of success there. On TikTok, I've gotten pretty good engagement and views, but that's been more like, you know, doing like cover songs and live performances and stuff. But as far as like me promoting my stuff, I see Instagram being good for engagement and connecting with folks. And so that's been good. But
is it more successful out of curiosity? Because I know Instagram, you could do different types of media. Do you see more success rates when you're just taking like a picture of you at the event? Do you get more clicks and interaction with that? Or is it when you put out the whole song on that medium? What's it like in terms of that engagement activities?
So the posts that tend to do pretty like better, I would say, are like when I have got new music and I'm announcing that does well. Some of the like, you know, content around live concerts as well. So whether it be video or like a carousel, like posts, you know, multiple, those tend to do pretty well, I would say. But yeah, it does kind of depend. There's some variability. I don't know if that's interesting. You say about like songs, like song content and album content. Like, I don't know how much that affects how people engage as far as like, you know, that goes. I'm not sure. That is interesting though. So.
Have you had a lot of success with the traditional Facebook? Because I know Facebook now owns Instagram, so it's kind of the same, you know, same family and portfolio of products. But has Facebook been pretty good methodology for you, or what's it like in that regard? And do you I forgot, do you pay for like the Facebook Premium things? I know nowadays they all have the authorization or the verified check marks and supposedly the boosted metrics allegedly. So has that made an impact, or have you tried that out?
I haven't spent a dime on Facebook or Instagram. Or any social media for that matter. So all my budget goes into making the records, not like, you know, doing that, which you could argue that's maybe, you know, a missed opportunity, and that's fair. But I haven't done it to this point. Facebook, decent engagement on like new album promotion. It, you know, slightly less than Instagram, I would say still, but it's not awful. But again, it's like, you know, there are no barriers to entry. So like everybody who's doing anything music related is all trying to post about my new album, this show coming up, whatever. And so it's like, yeah, I've got mixed feelings about social media because, you know, and I think it's also because like my day job is marketing. And so like I'm around social media a whole lot, and like, like how healthy is that? You know?
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean?
It's also, I mean, there's a reason that they. I remember at one time there was a rumor that Facebook hired more psychologists than engineers because they designed the product to be very, very addictive, and it very much is. Let's be honest, all the platforms are. Because again, they make their money with the engagement rates of, hey, Bobby's on this app for 25 hours a day. Well, okay, maybe not that many, but then they can sell it to advertisers to say them, hey, they're on this app so long. That's why you should pay us more money for marketing because the placement of your ad.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're on there all day for work and for music, all of a sudden I'm not sure how healthy that is for your mental health, and that can be pretty stressful in and of itself. Because again, that's taken away from your time resource allocation to you could be writing a new song or a new album, and or you could be practicing as well. So it's a whole nother thing in and of itself.
Definitely. And I go back and forth on that. Like some days I'm like, I just want to like shut down, only maintain like an Instagram and Facebook or something and get rid of the rest just to simplify and to, for my own kind of, sanity. Because the way it's set up is like, you could always be doing something.
Yeah.
And you sometimes feel like you should always be doing something to move the ball down the field for your music stuff. So, but you got to take a step away and you got to, I don't know. I don't think that's a really healthy mindset of just like, I could always be doing something to get this going on social. I could always be doing more. Yeah, but sometimes you need that quiet and you need space to think and you need to kind of take a break from algorithms and just go outside.
Turn off the phone.
Turn off the phone, exactly. And so finding that balance, I think, is key for probably, I think, everybody nowadays. But especially if you're trying to do some kind of like creative thing that involves social media to a significant extent, I think you really got to think about, you want to be successful and get your stuff out there to people, but you also want to be able to like, live your life and feel fulfilled and not mentally drained and not falling into that comparison game of like looking at people who are, because you can go two ways with the comparison game. You can look at people who are doing like slightly better than you and be like either jealous or you get bitter, or you can look at people who are doing slightly worse than you and be like, well, at least I'm not that guy. You know what I mean? And so it's like neither are healthy for you or them, and so it's like, but it's so easy to do on social media. That's like the game. Comparison is a big part of why it's unhealthy.
That's why partially why it's very, very addictive too.
Yeah.
And then there's some interesting things, like you see this with, especially with the comedians as well, but also in the music industry, you get to this very unusual situation where a majority of the social media is in no way correlated to the core product they create.
Yeah.
I mean, you have comedians where they get more clicks just off of like cooking stuff in the kitchen and doing it's almost as if it's become a personality as much as an artistic thing.
Yeah.
And to me, I understand why you can kind of connect with your audience more and become more relatable, but it's kind of weird to think a majority of their
What's the price? What's the cost
precisely.
of it? Yeah.
And sanity, the time. Because again, all of a sudden you look at their post, more of the times we spent just recording what they do on a daily basis versus, they could be writing new jokes or people could be writing new albums. It's really bizarre, but for some of them, it does correlate to ticket prices and album sales and t-shirt sales. Yeah. It's really bizarre. It seems like nowadays more than ever, because again, back when people followed the Beatles and the Aerosmiths and stuff, people talk about the socialized, but now it seems to be almost just as important as the music itself. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, and I probably 80% of musicians would be speaking about this negatively. Like, I didn't sign up for this. I signed up because I've got these things that I believe in that I'm trying to push out and share with the world. Like spin a little beauty into the world to help people process what they're going through, to help people understand that they're not alone in some of these struggles, to give people songs that are just happy and fun and can make people's days better. So those are the types of things that a lot of musicians want to do, or they just want to like rock out and like have fun playing music, which is perfectly fine. They want to do that. They don't want to, because now it's like, I see TikToks about this. It's like, people are saying, the job of a musician is like, you got to focus on creating content to stay relevant. And the music, and then it's like also like, oh, and also I make music. Go check it out here. So it becomes like an afterthought. You have to be a content creator or a social media manager, and then you do all this stuff to try to generate some kind of interest or whatever. And then you say, oh, and I also have this new song, and then nobody goes listen to the song.
It almost becomes a backseat or like a byproduct.
Yeah.
It's no longer the core competency, the core focus.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
It is bizarre, and I have mixed feelings though, because like I love a lot of things about social media too. Like it's a great tool. I've learned so much. I've made legit like friends and connections through social. So much funny stuff, like memes and jokes and just all this stuff. So there's so much good about it, and then there's so much like stuff that's awful about it. I guess it's a little bit like life, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. but it's a blessing and a curse. I mean, there's a lot of musicians where I don't know. It's a weird thing, but to me, the line really resonates to me, especially for my tech company. It's like there's an old saying, like you only need one person to say yes one time to change your life forever. And same thing with being a musician, like just one song going viral, like take me, Richmond, north of Richmond. I mean, he was a moderate successful musician prior to that, but he also had a side job and he doing a couple other things. As soon as that one song went viral, I mean, everyone in the world knew his song out of seemingly nowhere. And yet people don't realize, like, he didn't get lucky. He'd been working like hell for years at his craft and really putting his heart and soul into it.
Yeah.
But like all of a sudden, that one viral moment, it's just like that book Freakonomics with businesses. All of a sudden, just through the stratosphere, that's all everyone's talking about for weeks.
Yeah, and there's like just enough of those little like breadcrumbs to keep musicians like, oh, maybe this is the one that goes viral. Maybe this. It's like very, percentage wise, your probabilities, it's very low. But as, musicians, they're oftentimes dumb in how hopeful they are. I would say
that's entrepreneurial spirit. You have to be that way. You have to ignore the. I always tell people, like, when you start a business, more than 50% fail the first year.
Yeah.
You have to have that vision, that heart to ignore the statistics. You have to, you have to be like, you know what? Those people. It's foolish to say, but you have to have the mentality of those people don't matter. Those people aren't me. They don't have my heart. They don't have my persistence. They don't have my product. They don't have my song. They don't have my. You just have to have that work like hell mentality. Like that is the upside of social media, because if we didn't have, again, that's the greatest thing about music these days, decreased barrier to entry. You don't have to have those giant record labels and those guys that are signing off in 15 levels of approval to say, okay, now I can be worked with us. I mean, the independent creativity is so great, and you can put it on social media. And that's the upside of social media. It's a big upside. But there's also some social media that's not as effective. Like, I think you were telling me, like, do you get a lot of clicks on Twitter or X.com as they call it now, or is that a worthwhile time? Because I know you also have, you have Facebook, you have Instagram. There's also some musicians try to do a little bit on LinkedIn, some on YouTube, some on Rumble, there are a lot of different methodologies. Like, have you found any of those to be as effective? And what are your thoughts in terms of investing time? Because again, it's all about time and resources. Do you think it's worth to put more into one or the other? What's that journey been like in that regard? Yeah.
So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I'm not ranking those as far as order of engagement, but those are the ones. Twitter, I like the idea of it. I think it's gotten a lot worse since, like we were talking, since it became X and Elon took over. So my personal opinion, I just think it's gotten worse. But I do like anything that's gotten decent engagement on that one for me is just like stupid jokes or like dumb stuff. It's not my music that's getting like any kind of
you're not putting out
awesome engagement.
You're not posting your out, because I know, like,
I will post about my music on there, but I'm just saying it doesn't perform well compared. Like I get jokes. I'll do like a stupid like joke and it'll get more than like my hey, here's my new song. And in general it does.
That seems to be a lot of the engagement on Twitter or X.com is like jokes and gimmicks, and those seem to be, statistically, you see those go viral pretty often. But like in terms of like products, because I know they do have it to now where you can actually upload full videos to it and you can get monetized. So there are some people starting to make money on the platform. That's not, on average, still not, most people are not. But it's interesting to see. I don't know if it'll ever, because remember, back, winding back the clock years ago, MySpace was a huge thing for musicians. I don't know if X.com will ever transition to being more focused on creators even more than they are now. But it seems like, in my anecdotal experience for businesses, especially for business-to-business type of sales methodologies, Twitter isn't as effective as others. Like, if you're a business to consumer, maybe a little bit, but even then, when you look at the engagement rates, it's more about building, I know it's cliche to say marketing, but building the brand and just have brand awareness. I understand. That, I think, is probably the best value of Twitter right now. Again, it's a fluid situation. But yeah, in terms of trying to get more info about the album or advertising, I can see it not being as effective for you in this situation.
I would also say, though, that like even if you don't get a lot of engagement on your music tweets or whatever, or really any platform, if you don't get much engagement, you can still use the platform for technically what, the social part of the social media. So like connecting, I've met other musicians on like Twitter and like we've, gone back and forth and, we've seen each other in real life as well at shows and stuff like that. Cool. That happens. And I see other music. So like from a social networking, it's a useful thing, even if like people aren't liking, like, clicking like on your new song or whatever. So there is some value there. But again, it's like social media, it's like, I think the whole thing is just a mixed bag and some pros and some cons. And it's like, you have to figure out what's best for you. And you have to figure out for yourself what's worth your time and what do you want? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what do you actually want? Do you want to spend all your time on these channels doing this? Or would you rather not do that? And if you don't want to do that, then don't do that, because you get one life.
That's true.
And it's, maybe you hate social, and so you're like, I'm just gonna write songs and play shows.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that'll work out for you. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it works out for some folks, and later on, maybe you're like, I'm just going to hire a social media manager or a team or something, and you just outsource that. So you can do that if you got the funds or whatever. But I don't know. I think there's some proverb about there being many paths through the woods. So
I like it.
Yeah, a lot of different ways you can go about it.
Out of curiosity, for streaming video, what's your favorite platform? I know in terms of like total users, there's nothing compares to YouTube at this current moment.
Yeah.
Is that where you see a lot of the clicks in that regard? Is that your favorite one? I know Vimeo is pretty big among creators as well.
I haven't done so much with video, really. I don't use YouTube at all. Like I've got my music obviously goes out there, so you can hear my music on there. But I haven't, really created music. I think I have one music video, that my brother made for me, which is fun. But, but I don't do a whole lot as far as that goes. I do like videos of me playing songs and covers, like a lot of people do that. Yeah. But I've enjoyed doing that, and that has actually gotten more like engagement with folks than I would have thought. Like specifically on like TikTok, I've gotten to me, it feels like a lot of views and a lot of comments, and that's fun. So, because I used to not want to play covers very much, because I'm like, why would I play someone else's song? I want to write new songs that haven't been made before and play those. But like that, when I was a younger musician, that's how I felt. But now it's like, good songs are good songs. Oh, yeah. There are like so many good songs out there that are really fun to play, and you can really like. Put
a twist on it.
You can put your own twist and interpretation on it, and then people, you can make people have a better day by like presenting the song that they love in this kind of new flavor, and it kind of gives them a new angle to the song. Oh yeah, and it's fun to do that, and people like it. So I'm surprised that people engage with it as much as they do, considering there's so many people like recording themselves playing the song and putting it out there. So, but that has been cool, and Instagram as well. I've got a few Instagram reels, and I really started that during back during pandemic days. I would like just do tons of like songs like playing, and I just post them on Instagram, and like that's one of the ways I kind of spent my time.
What's your favorite cover?
And
that you performed and listened to?
So I do a cover of "I Still Miss Someone" by Johnny Cash.
Oh yeah.
And I actually recorded that one. That's on my first album, Beginning and End. And that was fun to do. I really liked that. And for a song like that, to me, it there's always like a bit. It feels risky because somebody like Johnny Cash, who so many people like. Yeah. If you screw up this song that they like, they're gonna get mad at you. So, but you don't want to just like regurgitate what he did. Not that I could sound like him ever, but I just mean like you don't want it to sound too much like the original. You want to put your own spin on it. So there's going to be risk in that. But I'm really happy with how it turned out, the recording, and then I play that at all my shows. And so that one I enjoy playing. As far as what covers I like to listen to, though, I hate to say Johnny Cash again, but I mean his cover of "Hurt." I'm a Cash fan, if you can't tell.
That's the last music. I think that was his last music video too, right?
It was a very powerful music video.
Heartbreaking.
That one always just gets me. Yeah,
that's the best. I remember even the artist. I apologize, I forget his name, but the artist, the head of Nine Inch Nails, said like, he said after Johnny Cash did the cover, he goes, "That's his song now." Yeah, it's such a heartbreaking song. His voice is perfect. I've lost track how many times I've re-listened to that music video on YouTube. Like, it was so good and so heartbreaking, but it's perfect.
Yeah, that one comes to the top of mind. I'm sure there are other covers that I would think of that are like, oh yeah, I love that one, maybe even better, but that comes top of mind. Just Johnny Cash.
I mean, his voice is so iconic, and man, again, I love there are certain music videos that they really add a lot of value to the song. Mm-hmm. Some go a little bit too bombastic, or they go a little overboard. For me, again, music is very subjective, but just his whole music video for that, just perfectly accompanying him on the piano, like everything about it was just so perfect. Yeah.
He's always been really, I guess since college, he's been a big influence for me. Just I don't know. He's always been someone who I've loved his music, and he was always interesting. Obviously, he had his challenges and struggles there, for sure. But from a music standpoint, and also he's from Arkansas as well. So
that's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
He's from my home state.
There you go.
You gotta love them. You
Heck
gotta
yeah.
love them.
Absolutely.
And I'm passing that on. My son loves them too.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, my 2-year-old son.
Good taste.
Yeah, so I play one of his favorite songs like ever is "Ring of Fire" by Johnny Cash, and so I play that like every show, and he always freaks out. He calls it the "Down Down Down" song because of the chorus. But yeah, so trying to pass that on down to the next generation there.
He's one of the best. What are your thoughts on music videos? Would you like to do them? And then would you like to direct them and write them as well? Because I know some of them get really complex with multiple sceneries and all the extra actors and actresses that are involved in the pyrotechnics in some cases. Is that something you want to do more of someday? Or what are your thoughts around that? Because it's also a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort. It's almost like a full production, like mini film in some cases too.
I love the idea of doing one or doing them. It's just, they do make me nervous, because they do cost money if you want it to. I say they cost money if you want them to look good, but there have been videos made that have been shot on like iPhones and edited on free software that look great. And so, but I don't feel like I have the creativity. Like I don't think I'm creative in that way to like think up a music video and then shoot it out. So I would need somebody else to do that. I should be doing more video.
There's so much work though. Just think of just the
again, it's the time and money thing.
Yeah,
man.
Time, cost, complexity. Because I know like one of my favorite bands growing up to this day is I think they relabeled, but they used to be called Theory of a Dead Man. Now they're just called Theory. But I remember like one of them growing up was like, it's kind of cliche, but it was like Hate My Life was a popular one. But I remember just it was a perfect mixture. You saw the actors walk down the street and they meet the construction workers. And the older I got, the kind of more complexity I thought of like all the extra soundtracks, all the sound they had to add to it, all the different camera angles, and shoot, depending on how many cameras are filming at the same time, that costs balloons. Yeah. Then you got to think about how do you store that data, how do you edit it, how do you compress it. Yeah. And I mean, the more I get into video production, the more I appreciate the nuances and how much work goes in behind the scenes before you see the final work of art. Yeah,
for sure. And yeah, a good music video is really, really fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
One that I saw recently that I thought was fun was Childish Gambino, Lithonia, I think that's the name of it, off his new album, and it's just as wild. Like it's just funny and wild and just kind of like shocking, and I don't know. When you do it right, it's awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean, it has a whole different realm of possibilities as well. It helps connect with the end user a lot, gives them more insight into what the artist is thinking. Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite bands is Newfound Glory, and I mean, some of those songs there's a cute, very unique animation they had for Catalyst when the songs back in the day. I say back in the day, it's around 2000s eras, but still. Yeah. And it's a very unique animation, almost like just slightly more advanced than cardstock, but it just looks so unique. It got your attention. The music was obviously great. And then you also had the live action performance artists there in the video with the cardboard like animations behind them. It was a really cool video. And like the more I think about it, the more I think of, oh dear God, how much editing does this take? I mean, how much Photoshop do they have to use? It's so complex. But the end result is a work of art. It's beautiful. And when I was a kid, I always thought, like, well, it's so ridiculous. This album has one music video. Why don't they have videos for every song? It's like, well, that would cost a lot. And also, going back to the thing we were talking about earlier with the time allocation, well, instead of writing a new song and practicing, well, now the musicians they're becoming actors as well. They're working, because again, in some cases, they're not playing instruments in the video. They're walking throughout the streets. They're acting out the lyrics. That's a whole different skill set they need to learn, and it's also taking them away from the core thing we could debate that, they should be working on just writing and performing the music.
100%. And I think, again, it comes back to what do you want? Like, and how do you want to spend your time? So, like, for me, I recognize that I have a finite, amount of time that I can spend because I have like a day job and kids and things like that. Oh, yeah. And then also, budget. I'm limited because I have kids.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like I can't do everything that I would like to do musically. You know what I mean? I'd love to have music videos that look awesome. I'd love to have like more polished social content. Would love that, but like that all takes something that at this point I'm not willing to give because I'm focused on these other things. However, what I will focus in on is trying to do songwriting. And so like, I've released a record every year, since, for 6 years. This is,
Really?
Yeah. So it's like my first EP, This Could Change. And then Time and Vision was the next year. And then Seasons was after that. And then Beginning and End. And then my album Repetitions, which came out last October. And like I said, I'm taking a break off recording this year to focus on songwriting and playing shows. And but that said, I've got 3 albums that are currently being cooked right now that I'm working on. So I've got
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I've my what I'm probably going to do, my next one is kind of like this, a little bit of a tribute to my home state. Is the idea behind it. It's about my experience there, and so it's meant to be kind of a tribute. I'm working on that. It's going to be more of like a folky record. I've got it written. It's ready to go. I'm just holding till next year to let a little more space go between albums, and then also just to focus on the songs, because with songs it's like I'm always tinkering with them, and like I'm not someone who tinkers in a garage. I can't fix anything. Like, I mean, I can YouTube and like try to do stuff, and sometimes I'm successful, and sometimes I'm not. But the tinkering that I like to do is on song lyrics and like chord progressions and albums, and like trying to arrange that stuff. And so for these songs, like most of them were like done, like long ago, but I'm just continuing to practice them, play them, and like see, oh, does this word work better? Does this couplet need to be moved down here? Just trying to like play with the different pieces of it to try to make it as good as possible. And because I think there's real value there. I know for me specifically, there have been multiple songs that like I thought were in the can, they're done, ready to go to the studio, and then I'll come up with this idea in the 11th hour, right before we're supposed to go, and it like takes this song. It's not like necessarily a big thing, but it does add enough like material change for it to really impact the quality of the song, in my opinion. And like, so I love just tinkering on it and getting it as good as it, possibly can, as best as I can, do on it. And so, one that's going to be a folky record that's kind of, about my home state. One that's going to be a covers album that I'm excited about. It's going to be more like acoustic, like probably bring in some like bluegrass instrumentation maybe. Yeah. I'm trying to do something different with that one. And then the third album is just like my next, just songs that I write day to day, not focused on the home state or a cover, but just like general songs that I'm kind of like compiling for the next album. So I've got 3 of them in the works, and hoping to go back to the studio. The plan is next year, probably in the spring, start working on the folky record, and hopefully release it like in the fall of next year. Nice. I think it's got a good like autumn sound because it's more folky and acoustic, and so that's kind of the plan, yeah.
And then what are your thoughts on it? Might be a difficult, kind of cliche question, but how do you know when a song is done, or when do you know it's perfect? You can't add or subtract a single word to improve it. What do you? Is it just a gut instinct, or how's that come along?
I've heard some people answer that question by saying it's never done, and they might change lyrics after it's even recorded, like for live performances. Yeah. So I know some people do that.
That also adds a lot of value to your fans too. Because like one of the reasons that I loved, and one of the few bands I paid to see live growing up was Aerosmith, and it's because like one of my favorite songs is "Crying," and there's a big difference not just in the vernacular of Steven actually making some words more emphasizing more words and he changes the tone and the volume of certain words differently when he's live, but he also just changed a couple words, which doesn't seem like a lot, but to me just sounded a lot better live versus when I was growing up, listening on the CD. Yeah. So I know that's another big benefit of constantly making the music, improving it and changing the words, is it keeps it interesting for the end user and the fans too. More unique experiences.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've caught myself doing that. Like I've got several songs that, like for example, I've got a song called "Give All," and it's on the second EP that I put out, Time and Vision. It's just like one acoustic guitar and then my vocal is very basic. And I've always liked the song, but like as I've played it live, I've made changes. Like I added like this whole new like end part to it that kind of like takes it up a little bit as far as like I guess emotional or intensity or whatever. It brings up the energy. And then I've got like a song called "Linger" that was on my first album that I've made tweaks to as well to just liven up the songs or add something fresh. Yeah. And it's all been kind of organic. It's not like I'm going out to see I'm gonna take this song and just do. No, it's just like me playing it and being like, oh, what if I did this? So in a sense, it's what I would be doing right before I recorded it, making tweaks to it, but I'm not changing it for a recording. I'm changing it for a live performance. So the answer to your question is, it doesn't really end. Like I can keep making changes. Now, as far as like how do I know when it's ready to be recorded and like when I feel comfortable with it, man, it's really just kind of a vibe check. Like how do I feel about it? Like does it work together? God bless my wife. Like I feel bad for her because I show her like all my songs and like you have to write a whole lot of bad songs to hopefully write like a halfway decent song, right? Yeah. So she has sat through many a rough tune, and so bless her for that. But yeah, I try to get some feedback from people as well, just like, hey, what do you think of this? Like, does it make sense with the rest of the record? Like,
does it fit in?
Yeah, so those kinds of things, and if I like it, if I feel good about it, and then people who I pitch it to, don't have like major problems with it, then it's like, okay, well, let's go record it. But even when I'm recording it, I've always had the philosophy of like, hey, if this sucks, let's throw it in the trash. Like we won't do it. Like, cause I'm trying to put out the best I can. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm of the school of thought that, if you don't believe in what you're doing, what right do you have to ask somebody else to believe in your song?
True.
You know what I mean? So I got to like the song when it's recorded. And obviously, like, you can love the song when it's recorded and just feel really excited about it. And then later you're like, I'm kind of tired of it, or I would have done this differently. And that's like normal and that's fair. But it's like, in that moment, do you feel good about it? Is this an accurate representation of what you're trying to do in that particular time and space for that song? So that's kind of how I think about that.
And out of curiosity, when it comes to post-production and editing, and then also actually with the lyrics, what are your thoughts in terms of AI being used to create some lyrics? Do you see it as a tool, or do you think it see it as less authentic? 'Cause again, it takes its input from humans, but it is just a machine. And like, what are your thoughts on that methodology? Because I know some artists use it, and some people debate, are they even artists to use that tool?
Yeah. I have no problem if someone wants to use it as like a supplemental tool, because to me it's the same as like I've seen some people. I've never done this. I would try it. I just haven't done it yet. But like they'll do, for example, System of a Down. I can't remember what song, but their singer was talking about writing it. It's like he had his first verse, he had his chorus, but he couldn't figure out another part of the song, and maybe in the second verse or a bridge or something. So he was like, all right, I'm just going to go into the library, pick out a book, open it, and put my finger down, and whatever line it is, I'm going to use it or borrow from it or repurpose that in the song.
Oh,
so he did that. So
that's pretty cool.
So that's like a supplemental tool. He's not coming up with that, but he's like using a tool to to fill out the song. So like, I've got no problem with, not that people would care if I had a problem with it or not, but like, if you want to use it to like get a jump start, like on like, write a song about, I don't know,
sunshine and daisies or whatever.
Yeah. It could give you like a framework or like a starting place if you want. Like, I'll be honest, I did try to use AI just out of curiosity. I was like, write a song about something and just to see what it would churn out. Yeah. And what it churned out was terrible. So I'm like, this sucks. I'm not going to use this. And so, maybe I was using it wrong. I don't know. But and so it's probably hit or miss. But I don't have a problem with people using it as like a supplemental tool. And if people can use it completely for your lyrics and nobody knows, then I think I almost you kind of won, I guess.
Oh yeah. Well, I almost wonder if like in a couple of years people see that as the same instance of just someone else writing your songs. So I know like some of the most, at least
like ghostwriting or something. Yeah.
Like some of the most at least financially successful musicians, performers like Beyonce. I don't think she writes anything. And Elton John, Elton John has a great voice, great musician, but he does not write his own songs.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we'll see that same type of perception where people don't care as much with AI as that's been developing more and more throughout our lifetime.
Yeah.
I suspect that might be the case.
I could see that happening. Yeah. Because I think everybody kind of understands that, like, there's different jobs in music.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't have to be, there's no, like, you can be Frank Sinatra and not like, you can be a fantastic singer and not write a single song in your life.
Oh, yeah.
But be like do a really good job and make a lot of people happy and like, provide something to people that is of value and, just like someone who wrote their song and performed it.
Right.
So
it's just an additional skill set.
Yeah. I think people understand that. So yeah, AI just stepping in and doing that too. I mean, I don't know. If I was like a professional, like paid songwriter, I might have a different opinion about the whole way. So, but coming from my perspective, that's my thought.
Kind of like, what are your thoughts on Napster, LimeWire back in the day? Oh my gosh, a lot of musicians lost out with that. Yeah, I remember in high school, everyone thought that Green Day wrote the song "Closing Time." Because someone uploaded it on LimeWire that way, and everyone in high school go, "Oh yeah," it's like no, that was written by Semisonic.
That is too funny.
It's like no, it's Green Day. It said on the download. It's like, well, that's how someone typed it.
LimeWire lied to you.
Yeah, and gave you a couple of viruses, by the way. You destroyed the family computer. Good job, Jimmy. It's like whoops. But yeah, I remember with music, that used to be one of the biggest methodologies to get it back in the day.
Yeah.
And also a strange thing we've seen that throughout our lifetime. I mean, back in the day, it was a huge, I think, was it Britney Spears? There's a certain musician where it's very controversial. They actually use auto-tune to fix something post-production. It was a huge scandal. Everyone's freaking out like, oh my gosh, I can do this. And nowadays, well, not only do you have like musicians where like, that's all they do, like T-Pain. Well, debatable if he's a musician. Partially kidding.
He's got a good voice, though.
Oh, yeah,
you should see some of his videos. He did a cover of like Tennessee Whiskey by Stapleton. Whew.
I need to check that out.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Go listen to that because he can sing. Like, yeah, I know he does the that kind of explicit autotune in those songs, but like he's got a killer voice though. And like autotune, like people use that just to like correct like thing. You know what I mean? It's not just for that effect. It's for like fixing some things.
What are your thoughts on it? Pretty uncontroversial now in the music community. On average, you're going to have people with all opinions, of course.
I would think that I don't see why musicians would care. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't care. I don't know.
It's like, I don't know. It's one of those cliche things. Like, was it a whole song called "I'm on a Boat"? Like to me, that's like the first song I think of when I hear of T-Pain. I think that was him. I might be horribly wrong in that guess.
I don't think I remember the song. I just know the "Buy You a Drink" one.
Buy You a Drink. I need to check that out.
Yeah, that was a good song. I love that song. But he's done several. I don't know. He did like some show where he was doing a bunch of covers, and everybody was just blown away with how good he sounded. Like, really? Yeah, he did a cover of I think it was War Pigs, and Ozzy Osbourne. I think he did that song, and he freaking loved his cover. Like he really loved it. So
that's pretty cool. I need to check that out.
Yeah, T-Pain. Shout out to T-Pain.
Yeah. And out of curiosity, what's it like booking venues? Is it pretty easy? Is it like cold calling, or do they just find out about you?
Yeah.
What's that type of methodology, or how's that work out for the folks who might be curious?
Yeah, it can be challenging. It can be very challenging. I mean, I think it's like like yourself with your own business. It's like you get told no a lot in music, and as an entrepreneur, I know that's the same thing. So there's a lot of no's that you hear. But it's great when you can like actually get in and build relationships with people, and then you can come back and play. Yeah. So I haven't been on tour or like tried to book a tour before. Mm-hmm. I think that would be fun to do eventually at some point. So maybe in the future. But yeah, I mean, just around town, it's like you get told no a lot, but then I've got a few spots that like they're I'm good with them, and I can keep coming back and playing, and that's always fun. So it's challenging, but it's all about like connections. Oh yeah. And making friends and trying to establish your credibility, really.
And then what's it like working with all the different acoustics? Because every different set is going to have a different environment. It's going to change how you sound. Do you have to overcome that by putting different emphasis on different words and playing notes loud or soft? How are all those variables taken into account when you're doing something like that?
Yeah. So there's definitely, you're right. There's venues that lend themselves to live music better than others, and it's kind of case by case. I don't really change like my words, how I would say a particular word, like or how I would strum. I don't think so. I've got my own like PA system, and so we just kind of tweak that and adjust it to get it as comfortable for us as we can. But yeah, there's some interesting things that you run into. Like I like to try to play breweries and stuff. Oh yeah. Because they give me free beer.
There you go.
No, it's not the only reason. But yeah, I mean, some of them it's like you got your outdoor sets, and those are always those can be more unpredictable and have more challenging sound issues. But it's all kind of a part of it. It is challenging, but it's so much fun to like play live music with your friends, and it's fun when everybody loves the music you're playing.
Absolutely,
so, love it. Yeah.
And what's your goal in terms of, do you have like your heart set on a certain venue, or do you have like a benchmark you're working towards, or is it just, what's your kind of vision for it going forward, or what's that like?
Yeah. I'd love to play the Kessler Theater. Yeah. I'd love to do that. I've seen some great shows there, obviously I love the Majestic Theater too. That's quite big, so that would be on down the road, and things would have to go really right for that to happen. But the Kessler, I think could happen. Like opening for somebody, I'd love to do that. As far as like music overall, I want to keep trying to play more shows, play out more regionally, and try to kind of build up the word there. My goals are more around like things I want to get out. So like the 3 albums that I was talking to you about, like I get so excited about, I just love songwriting. I just love building songs. Even the bad parts of songwriting, I love. Like even like going to the studio and feeling nervous and like, having to sing and in the little booth, like it can be a little bit, get some nerves there. But even that, I love the whole thing. If I'm honest, is the whole process to me. Like going to the studio to like the first.
Which studio do you go to?
So I've been working with 50/50 Studios here in Dallas.
Nice.
I've recorded everything except for that very first EP at 50/50 Studios.
Oh, really?
So yeah, friends with them over there, and they do great work. Love working with them over there. And they also play on there. So several of the folks that work there are also musicians.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, they play the drums, electric guitar, and bass. And I even played some shows with them. Like
oh, cool.
Yeah, so several different formats for when I do live music. Obviously, my like solo, just me and my old guitar.
Right.
Got a duo format with I play with Bobby Orozco, who's a friend and a fantastic piano player. He's awesome. So go check out his music. And then like we had a full band set up there for a while, where it was like drum, electric guitar, bass, and me. And that was fun. We only got 2 shows, and then the drummer moved to Colorado. That's okay though. That's okay. Colorado's a great place to move to. So several different formats, but it's all fun. It's all fun. So I just want to do more of that, more playing with people. But yeah, like recording is just so much fun. It feels like Christmas morning, like when I'm right before when I'm starting to record, and I get those like excited like nerves about that you do before Christmas morning when you're a kid and Santa Claus come with all the presents. I don't know. Exactly. I love it.
Do you have like a favorite pre-recording ritual, or do you have like a certain things like you have to do, or what's that like?
No, I guess not. I guess I don't have a ritual. Just
just get in and record. There you go. Knock it out of the park.
Get in the car and go to the studio and try to get it all done in the time that I'm allotted.
I forgot, what kind of guitar are you using these days?
So I've got a Martin. It's one of the Road Series ones.
Nice.
So my wife bought that for me for Father's Day. Yeah, a few years ago. So love it. It's been great for me.
You sound amazing.
It's my go-to. Yeah. So I love it. It's great.
Guys who put those together are artists. Like every part of those guitars are just flawless, and they sound so beautiful.
Oh yeah. There's nothing like a good like Martin guitar.
People don't realize the science and just all of the methodologies and all the work goes into like even just the quality of the wood.
Yeah,
makes such a big difference.
And the different wood types they use, and
precisely.
Yeah, for sure.
It makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. Do you play much guitar?
You said you had not as much as I used to. They're collecting a little bit of dust, but I still got the old cork guitars. I think they're still in business, but yeah, it is like I'll play it every once in a while, like the acoustic and electric. Then I'll go to my buddy's place, and he's got a whole wall of like Martin guitars, and then every once in a while, like before I knew how much they cost, he let me play it, and then he told me the cost. Like, oh dear God, don't put this back on the wall, David, what are you doing? Put this on the wall.
Don't let me play this.
Exactly. Like everything about those guitars, just like they just fit your body. But just holding it just feels so ergonomic perfectly, and just a single strum just sounds beautiful. Like you don't even need an amplifier. Like it's amazing the quality you put in those things.
Yeah.
It just sounds perfect. I've never really played a 12 string. I would love one of these days. I mean, those sound amazing in and of itself. Have you ever had the desire to go into that? What are your thoughts on the sounds of those?
I like the sound of 12 strings. Seems like a pain to tune it.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah,
I'm lazy, so I'm not sure I want to tune that many strings. I don't know. Actually. I think I maybe picked around on one like once.
Yeah.
But and it sounds cool.
Oh yeah, they sound neat. But I think maybe it's like a boat. You want a friend to own one. You don't want to actually own one.
There you go. There you go. Exactly.
And what do you like to do outside of music, or what type of hobbies you got these days?
Yeah. So the main one is playing with the kids. So I've got 3 kids, 7, 5, and 2-year-old. So yeah, we spend a lot of time with them. What's your
favorite thing to do with them? Do you like guys like play board games? Do they play like Rock Band? Do they have any musicians? You got any instruments yet, or?
So they want to learn piano. My oldest wants to learn piano, and so we're in the process of getting her set up for lessons. Is what we're trying to do there. But we play like all kinds of stuff. So like hide and seek, even hide and seek.
Oh yeah,
classic. So yeah, hide and seek. We play soccer. My son which I'm so thankful for this, but he loves the movie Cars. He's really into cars.
Yeah.
So which is fantastic because I remember seeing that back in theaters when it came out back in, I guess, early 2000s or something. Like, was it early 2000s? I think.
Oh my God, 2000?
I think so.
Time's going by way too quick. Oh my
way
gosh.
too quick. But I love those movies.
Yeah.
Every single one of them, all three of them. I've seen all three movies. I love them all, and I'm so happy that he's into it because I get to watch them with him. And then I bought him like the little Lightning McQueen and the Mater cars, and so we've been playing with those. Then he likes one new game that he's doing. It's like in the movie they make the tractors fall down or whatever, and so like we tractor tipping. Like so we've got some tractors, and so we play tractor tipping with his little cars there.
I like it.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's summertime as well. So like we take them to the pool.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, dude, Jonathan, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Don't forget, if you want to check out John's music, it's in the description, no matter where you're tuning into this video. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Don't forget to take the time to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe. You have a great day. Topping Talks.